House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 3 The Burning Mill. Let me start this off by saying that there's a lot to love in this episode. I think we just saw the start of the best storyline of the entire show, but sadly and for whatever reason, House of the Dragon does the House of the Dragon thing of ending the episode on a controversial note. The episode begins very promisingly with our first glimpse at the consequences of war. The Battle of the Burning Mill is one of the smaller battles during the Dance of the Dragons, but it perfectly symbolizes the destruction the conflict brings to Westeros. It's also why filming the actual battle itself wasn't necessary. It's pointless, highlighting the contrast of teenagers arguing to the actual casualties on the battlefield was all that was needed. The anti-war message is obviously one of George R. Martin's most important themes in A Song of Ice and Fire, and they really did it justice here. These people had fathers, mothers, cousins, children, friends, and they all died for nothing. I hope House of the Dragon emphasizes on Martin's anti-war theme all throughout its run. They've done a fantastic job here. Something I really loved and teased all throughout the last few weeks was the Harrenhal storyline. This is exactly how you portray the inner conflict of characters. Daemon is haunted by the past the minute he sets foot inside Harrenhal. I've complained a lot about the depiction of Daemon's character in Season 1. How House of the Dragon seemingly always picked the worst possible option from Fire and Blood, and how it seemed like he had no redeeming qualities. Nothing that balances his cruel acts out and therefore makes him a great character. Seeing how it all comes back to bite him now, I'll gladly eat my words. I love how they are implementing dreams into the show. There's so much that is revealed to us through dreams in A Song of Ice and Fire, and Daemon's arrival at Harrenhal really reminded me of that in the best possible way. I also just love the feel of the castle, how ridiculously gigantic it is, and how you still feel cramped because of how amazing the directing of Geeta Patel was. The ghost of Harrenhal is very much real, and I think this is everything a book fan could want for the adaptation of this castle. After a while of seemingly getting lost, Daemon arrives at what I assume is the Kingspire Tower. We get our first glimpse at both Sir Simon Strong and Alice Rivers. Well, I couldn't wait to finally see Alice Rivers. I have to say that Simon Russell Beale's portrayal really impressed me the most out of anyone in this episode. I immediately had to look him up, and my god, does this man have a CV. He's a world-renowned theater actor, and just such an enrichment for the House of the Dragon cast. Later during the episode, we get to see Daemon's first dream sequence, and it's revealed that Millie Alcock reprised her role of Rhaenyra. And it had to be that version of the character. Daemon is confronted with his wrongs from the past, and he robbed Rhaenyra of her innocence and groomed her since she was a child. I'm glad that this is brought up, and I like that it's done in a combination with Blood and Cheese. Daemon suffers because he sees the consequences of his own actions. His recklessness is coming back to bite him, and it allows his character to develop. From day one, Daemon was the most conflicted character of the entire show. I am so glad that they decided to implement an entire storyline that is solely focusing on that conflict. It's what most people always wanted to see with Jaime, and it's a real treat for fans of complex storytelling. It's the perfect showcase of someone who's struggling to find their own place in the world. Most of it works without any dialogue. Show, don't tell, just like it should be. It's also why Alice Rivers' introduction is so powerful. We only see her briefly, and she only has one line, and yet it's fully established that she is going to play a vital role going forward. As some of you might know, I got to watch the first 4 episodes early, and I can't wait for you guys to see how this continues. It's by far my favorite storyline of the entire show so far, and I'm dying to see more. I could watch an entire show of this, but let's continue with the brothel sequence. I'm still not entirely sure how to feel about it. I'd say overall, I like this sequence. On one hand, like my buddy D. Charles pointed out during our livestream, the amount of nudity might have been too much, and it might have been just there for the sake of doing the good old HBO thing. It might have been a distraction from what I think the show was really going for. The death of Aemon Targaryen's decency, which is a direct parallel to Daemon struggling to find his own. This was Aemon's last place of security. In a messed up kind of sense, this was his escape place, the very place to which he was unwillingly dragged to by his brother. As we've seen in the previous episode, Aemond allows himself to be insecure when he's in that brothel. It's where his feelings are heard and where he can vent. The prostitutes seem to be able to get to him too. She emphasized on the importance of the small folk and how a prince's anger might lead to the suffering of them. It's like she was the only person in the world who was able to temporarily tame the rage and anger that Aemond carries inside of him ever since he was a child. Aegon stole that place of security from him when he opened that curtain, and Aemond immediately becomes the small child that was ridiculed again. In a way, a part of Aemond died right there. His carelessness and coldness when he walks out of the brothel is scary and signalizes a shift in Aemond's arc from here on out. I personally would have preferred to see this message being portrayed differently, but I think it worked. I'm still just kind of disappointed that we didn't get to see Aemond arriving at King's Landing after killing Luke, because I think the inner conflict could have achieved similar results. We'll see how this plays out. Before we talk about my least favorite moment of the entire show, I'd love to highlight a few things that I think are worth mentioning here. Baela being more involved is great. Moondancer looks really cool and the Kristen Cole chase scene was very well done. It really shows how difficult warfare is when dragons are around. Your every move is exposed and the element of surprise is very limited, which thankfully reduces the option for Deus Ex Machina moments. Bethany Antonia is a great actress too. I'm happy that we get to see more of her now. Gwaine Hightower is a very welcome addition too. I really like his dynamic with Cole. Ulf the White claims that he is Balon's bastard and therefore Daemon's brother. I think I would be okay with that, if that really is the case. Balon lived for another 17 years after Alyssa's death, and I think it's plausible that a Targaryen prince doesn't stay celibate. Sure, Viserys supposedly tried to seduce him and he has sent her away, but maybe Balon just doesn't like kids the way Daemon does. Either way, another possibility is that Ulf was simply lying and he is a bastard of someone else. That would also be very much in character. He is a drunk, after all. Well, and that's where the episode ends, right? Oh god, okay, let's do this. Rhaenys convinces Rhaenyra that her last chance for peace. That was weird. Let's try again. Rhaenys convinces Rhaenyra that her last chance for peace is to seek out Alicent. War will be too bloody, she says, and... Okay, that's weird. Let me try one more time though. War will be too bloody and the only hope is to seek out Alicent. I'm baffled as to why Rhaenys thinks Alicent has the power to stop this war, but okay. After talking to Mysaria, Rhaenyra decides to dress up as a Septa to go and talk to Alicent. Miraculously, not even her very visible silver hair, the most infamous Valyrian feature, gets her detected after passing through an ongoing blockade. She manages to walk right into the Sept and just gets to talk to the Queen, who despite of what just happened to her grandson in his own bed, is not protected inside the Sept. Look, let's be serious here. I can look past all of that. Really, I'm not that much of a book elitist and I'm very open to changes from Fire and Blood because I just don't think that book is all that. I really don't think it's on a Song of Ice and Fire's level. My favorite episode of Game of Thrones is Season 4, Episode 6, and that's the episode where the nonsensical Theon rescue attempt with Yara goes down. That made less sense than what was happening here, and it still manages to be my favorite episode. I just can't get over the dialogue here. Emma Darcy might be the best actor on the entire show, but the scene is just all over the place. This is really the first time where House of the Dragon felt like just another show. We've seen this trope being used in countless movies and TV shows already. A big misunderstanding being revealed and the character feeling so guilty afterwards. A oh my god, it could have all been avoided moment. But that's just not the case. The A Song of Ice and Fire prophecy does not matter here. Otto Hightower laid the foundation for Aegon's rule decades ago. You could take Alicent out of the show and the war would have happened regardless. In fact, that is even something that came up just last week in episode 2. When Aegon talks about Viserys choosing him as a successor, Otto openly mocks him for it, which clearly signalizes that a war for succession was inevitable. It doesn't matter what Viserys wanted. This is a patriarchal, feudal society in which men would rather burn the entire realm down than serve a queen. It sucks, but that is the story. Rhaenyra doesn't need Alicent's help. There is no help. Rhaenyra just lost Luke, and Alicent lost her grandson. I want both of them to be more reckless. I think I know what they were going for, and I like House of the Dragon's depiction of their relationship more than what we got in Fire and Blood. Both are also more active in the show, which is great, but the changes have to make sense. The writers probably structured their entire plot this season to result in a big breakup. I personally didn't need 2 seasons to get to that point. War is ugly and it changes people. I'm sure it will still change them, but what else has to happen for that to finally start? It is what it is. Let's come to a conclusion. All in all, House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 3 is a good episode that would have had the potential to be the best episode of the entire show, if not for the last few moments. The feel of A Song of Ice and Fire really shines throughout most of the episode. It's an episode that could grow on me throughout the years with more episodes and seasons. For now, I am disappointed that yet another ending prevents an episode from being absolute greatness. I give episode 3 a 7 out of 10 because the Harrenhal storyline really blew me away. It saved the episode for me. But what do you think about the episode? Did you like it? Feel free to leave it down in the comments below. Consider subscribing so you don't miss my House of the Dragon live streams, reviews and cast interviews that we'll be doing for Season 2. See you later.